Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari Yasodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana Yasodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana Jamuna Thira Panachari Jamuna Thira Panachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Om Jnantimidandasya Jnananjana Chalakaya Chakshurun Militam Jena Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Sunyavadi Paschatya Desatharine Vanchakalpatarubhyascha Kripasindubhya evacha Patitanam Bhavanibhyo Vaishnavibhyo Namo Namaha Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasati Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna. I am most grateful to be among all of you today. Thank you. Hare Vilas Prabhu once again. Thank you for inspiring this incredible temple. It's one of the most beautiful places I've ever seen in my life. And beauty is in its perfect setting when it is for the offering of pleasure to Krishna, to the Supreme Lord. Otherwise, the beautiful things of this world distract us from our true purpose of life and implicate us in suffering. Krishna is all beautiful. He tells us in Bhagavad Gita that all the beautiful and wonderful things of the entire creation are but a spark of His splendor. Janmadya Shayata. He is all attractive. And whatever is attractive on any level, anywhere, it is just an infinitesimal spark of Krishna's attraction. Just as Srila Prabhupada, when he was walking along the Pacific Ocean, and the devotees were marveling over the incredible natural beauty of a sunset. Srila Prabhupada said, if you think the art is beautiful, you should see the artist. It is just a speck of a manifestation within creation of His unlimited beauty. Patram pushpam palam toyam yome bhakta prayachchati. Whatever comes in contact with Krishna becomes beautiful. When we offer nice carved wood, nice architecture temple, as you have done, when you make it an offering to Krishna through such a pure Paramahamsa devotee as Srila Prabhupada, then it is transcendentally beautiful. Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati would tell us, do not try to see Krishna, but try to serve Krishna in such a way that Krishna is pleased to see you. When we offer our hearts to Krishna, our hearts become supremely beautiful. When we offer our minds to Krishna, our bodies to Krishna, when we offer our lives to Krishna, our lives become supremely beautiful. But that beauty is not limited to the temporary flickering appearance and disappearance under the influence of time. Because anything that appears beautiful on a material level is in the process of being disintegrated by time. People are beautiful. Some people are a little beautiful when they're young. But then when they get old, nobody cares. And if you care about them, it's not because of the beauty of their bodies anymore. As you grow older, you're dependent on relatively unconditional love. Otherwise, nobody cares, because you can't really do much for anyone. But Krishna, He is Navayovanam. He is eternally youthful, resplendent with unlimited beauty. And when we offer our body, mind, words, hearts to Krishna, then Krishna's beauty shines through us. And that's how we can have unlimited beauty. when we allow Krishna's beauty to shine through us. And that is the greatest experience. When we accomplish something, there's some fleeting sense of satisfaction. But when we genuinely humble ourselves and surrender our hearts to Krishna's will, and we experience Krishna doing things through us, Srila Prabhupada doing things through us that are beyond our capacity, that is real happiness. As long as we think we're the doer, the happiness we get from it will be transformed into suffering in due course. Because that's how the world works, whether we like it or not. But when we really accept that Krishna's the doer, and I'm the instrument of His will, and we surrender, Krishna tells in Gita that He will preserve what we have and He will carry what we lack. And we have so little to preserve and so much to carry. And when Krishna manifests through us, we can actually transform people's hearts. We can actually do wonderful things on a spiritual level. And when we realize it's not me, then the more we are successful, the more humble we become. In the material sense, the more you succeed, the more you become arrogant and proud. But when we're Krishna conscious, the more we can accomplish, the more humble we become. Why? Because we realize, I'm not doing it. How great is Krishna? And even if we don't accomplish so much on a material level, if we're just trying to live in a spirit of seva, Krishna sees. He sees even the smallest thing as very great. We know the story when Hanuman was building the bridge across the Indian Ocean from Rameshwaram to Sri Lanka. That little spider with his little legs was kicking sand, one grain at a time, to build the bridge. And he was right in Hanuman's walkway. Hanuman was carrying him, mountaintop. Hanuman said, please, out of my way. And Ram, he taught the whole world such a sacred principle when he enlightened Hanuman by saying he is doing as much as you. Now from a material perspective, a mountain peak, Hanuman was holding something that probably weighed millions of kilos. And what is the weight of one grain of sand? It's almost impossible to even calculate how little of a weight it is. And what is the space that both occupy? But Ram said, you are both doing equally. Because he's, with unconditional love, he's doing the best he can. And with unconditional love, you are doing the best you can. Srila Prabhupada writes in Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita that Krishna does not see the thing that is offered. Krishna accepts the intent, the purpose in which it is offered. That is bhakti. Duryodhana was fighting with bows and arrows. Arjuna was fighting with bows and arrows. They were doing the exact same thing. But Duryodhana was motivated by greed and envy, and Arjuna was motivated by love for Krishna and compassion for others. Bhakti is a change of heart. From the desire to exploit to the desire to serve Krishna. And in serving Krishna, to really be an instrument of His love in whatever we do in this world. Long ago, almost 1,000 years ago, Sripad Ramanujacharya was living in Srirangam. And he had many disciples. And every day he was giving classes. What a wonderful experience that must have been. Every day sitting in the classes of Sripad Ramanujacharya. As he would speak from the scriptures, the Vishnu Purana, the Vedanta Sutra, the teachings and the poems of the Alvars. And he had a group of very intimate disciples who were coming every day to his classes. They were like an inner circle among his many, many devotees. And one day he was explaining the glories of Tirupati. How Balaji is especially very pleased when he is offered flowers with devotion. And Sripad Ramanujacharya, his life was with such humility, if you read his life story, just to please Krishna or Vishnu. So from his heart of hearts, he told the devotees that at this time, Balaji is living in he's Tirupati. The top of the hill, Tirumala, is extremely remote. Hardly anyone even goes there. It's a jungle. And there's hardly anyone there serving Balaji. Balaji likes flowers. There's no garden for him up there. I will be so grateful for any one of you who is willing to live on top of that hill for the rest of your lives, growing flowers for Balaji. Would any of you like to go? There was total silence. Nobody wanted to go. For several reasons. One, very dangerous place. It was an isolated temple on the top of a mountain in a jungle. It's really hard to get to. Just to survive up there. But most of all, here in Srirangam, they were with each other. And they were with their guru, Ramanujacharya, getting personal instructions and hearing from him every day. If you go there, you may never see him or any of the other devotees again in your life. So there was total silence. And then one Grihastha devotee, his name was Anantacharya. With all humility and folded palms, he said, Gurudev, if it pleases you, I will go. This was serious surrender. Ramanujacharya was so pleased. He cried. He stood up and embraced Anantacharya. and called him his favorite most. Because he was willing to live, to serve, even in separation, even despite immense hardship. So Anantacharya left his wife. And from Srirangam, what is it, about 500 kilometers, they walked. There were no planes or trains or cars or buses. They walked. And in those days, 1,000 years ago, they had to walk mostly through thick jungles. Tigers, leopards, wild elephants, venomous snakes, mosquitoes, scorpions, so many other neighbors. And where did they sleep at night? Wherever they happened to be. And then they had to climb up 7 mountains. They had to cross over so many rivers. And they went to the top of the mountain. And they had no money, they had nothing. And there was hardly anyone there. There was a few pujaris, that was about it. And with the spade, just a little spade. He didn't have shovels, he didn't have machinery, he just had a spade. And he started digging the ground, and he made a beautiful garden. A very menial service. And somehow or other got seeds and grew flowers. And that was his life. Just somehow or other making the flowers grow. You know, dealing with the seasons, dealing with the too much rain, too little rain. Nothing's easy in this world. Whether we're living very close to nature and we have to deal with sun, rain, cold, frost, little insects attacking our crops. There's so many challenges. But then again, when we start, trying to do it in a very so-called modern way, with chemicals and pesticides and machinery, we just create so many problems that we have to deal with. You cannot escape problems in this world. You cannot escape challenges in this world. Whoever we are, whatever we have, things are going to be challenging. Things are going to come in such a way that we don't expect them and we don't want them. But in whatever situation, what's important is we live with integrity. We live with character. And what is the highest character? To understand that Krishna's the proprietor, Krishna's the enjoyer, and Krishna's my best friend. Samsiddhir haritoshanam, and to please Krishna. To do it in a way that Krishna is pleased. That is our success. Let's rewind a couple yugas, and then we'll get back to the story of Anantacharya. There was Ram and Sita living in Panchavati, where there were 5 wonderful banyan trees. And it was there that Suparnaka, the sister of Ravana, wanted to enjoy Ram. And in doing so, she wanted to actually kill Sita. And when she was just pouncing upon little Sita, she was gigantic. And little Sita was so small. She went, "Ah!" And Ram said to Lakshman, "Stop her." Lakshman took an arrow and cut off her nose. That stopped her. He cut off her ears. Now, ladies, whether you're American models or whether you're Rakshashis from Sri Lanka, ladies like to look nice. And it's relative. It's relative what nice really is. But she was really angry. She had no nose or ears. So she went and called Kara and Dushan, her two brothers, who had 14,000 Rakshasa soldiers, heavily armed, nearby in the Janastan. And she said, "You cowards, look at what they have done to your dynasty, what they have done to your sister. Stand up for the truth. You cowards, go and fight." So she instilled them to go and fight. Have any of you been to Nasik? After her nose was cut off, the place was named Nasik, which means nas, nose, and sik, where it's cut. The nose-cutting place. That's what Nasik means. But so the 14,000 soldiers came, and they were blowing horns, and they were heavily armed. And Ram told Lakshman, "You go protect Sita. I will fight them myself." And there's a cave, an underground cave where Sita went, and Lakshman stood outside that cave to guard her. While Sri Ramchandra, in a matter of just a couple hours, he liberated all the 14,000 soldiers, single-handedly. That made Suparnaka even more angry. She flew, because she had mystic powers. She could fly right back to Sri Lanka. And she incited Ravana. And we know the story how Ravana, with the help of Marichi, stole Sita away. And as he was flying overhead with Sita on his chariot, Sita happened to see an old, retired friend of Ram. His name was Jatayu. He was a bird. And among birds, he was kind of a vulture. Not the most popular of the birds as far as the caste system among birds. And Sita said, "Don't do anything, Jatayu, because you're too old. You will not survive a fight. But just tell Ram where I have been going." And Jatayu could not, even though he knew he really didn't have a chance, he couldn't just stand there. He shouted words to Ravana, "You are a coward. If you were really a hero, why didn't you fight Ram for Sita? Why you stole her away? Like a lion, like a jackal steals the property of a lion." Haribol. So Jatayu fought against Ravana, and he just gave it his best, and he did really good for a while. he cut off all Ravana's heads. Then they grew back. He was biting them off with his beak. They grew back. He'd bite off his arms and they'd grow back. He did away with all the donkey who were pulling his chariot. He destroyed his chariot. But ultimately he got really tired because he was old. And Ravana, seeing his weakness, cut off both his wings and cut off both his legs. Jatayu fell to the ground, bleeding. And Sita ran over to embrace him and was crying. She blessed him with all her heart. You gave your life for me. Later Ram came by and saw blood all over the place, and he thought it was Sita's blood. Then he saw Jatayu laying there. He was thinking Jatayu ate Sita. And he took his arrow, put it to his head. Jatayu risked his life for Ram, and now Ram's angry with him. When Ram wants to test you, he tests. And Jatayu just chanted Ram's name and told the story. And when Ram heard it, he embraced Jatayu as his dearmost loving friend and devotee. And with his head in Ram's lap, Jatayu chanted Ram, Ram. And Ram promised Jatayu, on this very day, you will go to Vaikuntha, to the spiritual world, the ultimate liberation, to be my eternal loving servant and friend. And his soul passed to the spiritual world. So the question is, who won that war? Ravana or Jatayu? Who was actually the winner? By material standards, Ravana won. Jatayu lost. But the difference is, Ravana was motivated by greed and lust, and arrogance and envy. And ultimately he lost everything. And Jatayu might have lost the battle, but he pleased Ram, and he attained the highest perfection of life. This is a basic teaching of Bhagavad Gita. Karmanyeva dakashuk. We should not be attached to the result of our actions. We perform our duty with integrity, dignity, and with devotion. In Sanskrit, that is called seva. Seva doesn't mean just to serve. If we go into a restaurant and a waitress gives you things, that's service, but it's not seva. They're getting paid, and they're doing it not with unconditional love. Seva means to act with character, with integrity, for the pleasure of Guru and Krishna. And that is victory, that consciousness. Jatayu is glorified as one of the greatest devotees of all time. And he lost the fight. But he won. He won the supreme ultimate goal of life. And he wasn't even a human. He was a bird. And Sri Ramchandra, when Jatayu passed from the world, Ram was crying. and embracing the corpse of Jatayu. And he told Lakshman, there is no one I could love more than this person. My father Dasarath has died, and that has broken my heart. My wife Sita has been taken from me, but there is no greater pain than separation from a devotee like Jatayu, who gave everything for me, who gave everything for my beloved Sita. An important message. There's nothing that pleases the Lord than when we put ourselves out to help another devotee of the Lord. Madbhakta pujabhyatika. Krishna tells in the Adi Purana that worship of my devotee is more pleasing than worshiping me. When we make sacrifices to love and care for another devotee, that gives the greatest pleasure to the Lord. After George Harrison met Srila Prabhupada, he wrote a song. It was something like, the Lord loves the Lord loves those who love. The Lord loves those who love the Lord. Does that make sense? Something like that. It's a very rock and roll way of saying the servant of the servant of the servant. The Lord loves those who love the Lord. And love means to serve. Seva is selfless service. And real victory, real success is not in the material result. It's in the degree we please Krishna by our sincerity. Srila Prabhupada wanted us to cooperate. Srila Prabhupada wanted us to be an international society where we united on a higher principle, to love Krishna and to share Krishna's love with the world. If we're hurting each other, if we're creating divisions, that's not pleasing Prabhupada. That means we're not making really spiritual advancement. Srila Prabhupada gave the example that if you put water on each little leaf of a tree, and each twig, and each branch, it makes it shiny and it looks nice. But if we don't put the water on the root of the tree, it's not substantial. So what pleases Krishna? He is the root of the tree. What pleases our founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada, who is the means by which we can connect to the root of the tree. Srila Prabhupada warned us on many occasions how in his own Guru Maharaja's movement, at a certain time there was divisions and there was competitions and it broke things apart. And in the lack of that unity, the power of what his Guru had established was no more really functioning in a way to spread Lord Chaitanya's message all over the world. And why did Srila Prabhupada warn us so many times of that? Because he was telling us what will actually please him. When we put aside our superficial sectarian tendencies and unite on a higher principle. The higher principle is to the degree we're united within our temple with all of its variegated. There are people from India, and there are people from America, and there are people from Europe, and there are people who are males, and people who are females, and people who are very educated, and people who aren't very educated, and people who are very wealthy, and people who don't have much of anything. And there's grihastas and brahmacharis, and there may be some sannyasis and vanaprasthas. And wherever there's a difference, we find there are so many reasons to distrust and to compete, unhealthy, and fight. Yes? How many times there has been battles between brahmacharis and grihastas, between Indians and Western people, between one person's guru and another person's guru, between the rich and the poor, capitalism, communism, among devotees. Some are farmers, some are book distributors, some are pujaris, some are GBCs. There can be a lot of competition, so many different interests. The Prabhupada said transcendental competition we're all trying to do our best to inspire everyone to do their best, and we're happy when somebody else is doing their best. You know, it really humbles us and almost embarrasses us when we see a person who doesn't even have this very high scriptural philosophy, but who understands these things. What's expected of us? Should I give you an example? Since nobody said no, I guess I will. Are you sleeping or are you in samadhi? Anyways. There was one of the greatest baseball managers in the history of baseball. He was the manager for the New York Yankees. His name is Joe Torre. And some years ago I was at an event. I was preaching actually, but I heard him speak at that event. And he explained how he brought his team to 4 world championships, World Series winners, and entered into, I think, 8 playoffs. He said, you know, it's very high level of competition. He said whenever his team would lose, he would speak to them. He would try to inspire them through the loss to deeply learn what we did wrong and what we could do better. We have to learn through our losses. But he said, beyond that, don't feel bad about yourself losing. Feel good because the other team is so happy that they won. Could you imagine that? It's a baseball manager who's getting paid to win. And he said, you should feel happy for their happiness. You should honor and respect your opponents and feel happy that they're won. And that will make you a better person. And at the same time, learn from the experience so that you could do better. Now, when we have all the Vedic literatures to explain the nature of selfless service, when we're among devotees, when somebody does something wonderful, we should feel so happy for them. And we should feel so happy that Krishna's pleased, because it's not about you and it's not about me, it's about Krishna. That's what Krishna consciousness is. If Krishna's pleased by what somebody else is doing, then if I'm happy to see that, Krishna's going to be pleased with me. But if I'm envious, or if I feel threatened by that, then Krishna's going to be very displeased with us, no matter what we do, because we have the wrong attitude. So unity in Krishna consciousness means to want to see everyone flourish around us. And to be united. Why? Because it will make Prabhupada happy. We're all here just to make Prabhupada happy. We may have our own little families of guru disciples, but there's a broader family, and we're all one. We're all one in that family. In every situation, it's very important that we focus on the higher principle. What will please Krishna? So Anantacharya, well, Jatayu lost and died, but he was supremely victorious because he pleased Ram. And Ram and Ravana won the battle, but he was supreme failure because he displeased Ram. So Anantacharya, with his little spade, he was making his garden and growing flowers. And he would, such a simple service, he would go out every day and pluck the flowers, make garlands, and bring them in and offer them to Balaji. And Balaji was so happy. In those days, there wasn't much fame in doing anything like that, except for Krishna. And Ramanuja, who was 500 kilometers away, nobody even knew he was doing any of it. It's not like, what we would expect today is, internet on millions of people's Facebook pages, on Dandavats and all these different, this is the garland that Anantacharya offered to Balaji today. And then people are, texting each other and, what a beautiful garden, and he's getting all these influx of praises. No, it was just Balaji in the jungles. And he was willing to live his whole life in that situation. But Ramanujacharya was so happy with him. He was so happy that he came all the way just to encourage Anantacharya. He walked, and he was in Tirupati, the bottom of the hill. And one of Ramanujacharya's gurus, I believe it was Shailapurna, is that correct? Shailapurna? He was living on the top of the hill. And he was a disciple of Sri Yamunacharya. Ramanuja was on the bottom of the hill, and Anantacharya came down to see him. And he was giving some classes. And Shailapurna was giving some classes. What happened is, Anantacharya, Ramanuja embraced him with such happiness because of what he was doing. And Anantacharya said, come and see Darshan. Ramanuja said, no, I cannot go up there. Because this hill, these 7 hills are the body of Ananta Shesha. It is the body of the Supreme Lord. I cannot walk on him. So I will not go on the hill. I will stay in the bottom and offer my Dandavat obeisances and all my love to Balaji on top of the hill. And Anantacharya, he wanted to show the gardens. And not only did he make a garden, but in order to make a garden, water was required. Anantacharya, with that same little spade, he dug a pond, a whole kund, where water could be stored, so he could use it to water the garden. Because there wasn't hoses and all that stuff. He had to make a pond, pukur, or srovar, and then you had to channel it to some stream of water, and he did it all with his little spade, alone. His wife was helping whatever she could do. She was pregnant, having babies too at some of the times. And how he wanted Ramanujacharya. It was an offering to him. The Ramanuja wouldn't go up. So Anantacharya said, well, if you're not going up, then how could I live up? I'm living up there and I'm your disciple. What is my justification to live on top of the hill when you won't even walk on the hill at all? Ramanujacharya said, it is because I have given you the order to do. That is your qualification. You're up there to do seva. So Anantacharya said to Ramanuja, because you are the Acharya, Mahajana yena gatha sabanta, people follow in the footsteps of the great Acharyas. If you don't go up in the mountain, nobody will go up in the mountain. If you're not qualified, nobody's going to think they're qualified. And Balaji's living up there to liberate the whole world. So if you go up, then everybody will go up. But if you don't go up, no one will go up. So Ramanujacharya went up. Some say he did it on his knees so his feet didn't touch. There's different interpretations of that. But when he was at a certain part, not too far from the top of the hill, he was very hungry and thirsty. And Shailapurna, who was a great scholar of Vedanta in all the bhakti literatures, who was a pure liberated Paramhamsa, who was a direct disciple of Yamunacharya, he came down to where Ramanujacharya was, and with his own hands brought him prasad and water. Sripad Ramanujacharya said, why did you come down to bring me prasad and water? There's so many people who could have done it. You're my guru. You're an acharya. You're a scholar. Why couldn't you send it down with somebody else? And Shailapurna responded. He said, yes, I know that's the etiquette, to send it down with, with somebody who is a junior. But I looked all around, and I could not find anyone junior to me. I could not find anyone that I wasn't the servant of. So I had to do it myself. And he was speaking from his heart. This is bhakti. They went up the hill together, and there Sripad Ramanujacharya met with Sripad Anantacharya and saw the beautiful flowers growing in the little pond that he dug. It was simple. And saw how he was just picking and plucking and making the garlands and putting them on the deity and decorating Balaji. So simple. And he was so happy. He pleased, Yasya Prasada Bhagavat Prasad. He pleased his Guru. What more could possibly one desire? And just to show how happy he was with Anantacharya, when Ramanuja was going to leave, he actually stayed when he went back to the bottom of the hill, Ramanujacharya stayed for many weeks hearing Shailapurna speak from the Ramayana. Even though he was the foremost acharya of the whole sampradaya, he was so eager to sit and humbly listen to a senior Vaishnava. And when he was about to leave, Anantacharya knew that he would probably never see his Guru again, because he could never leave that hill. The flowers were waiting for him. Ramanujacharya, in his love, before he left, he had a murti, a deity made of himself. And after the deity was carved, Ramanujacharya embraced the deity. And he told Anantacharya, I am in this deity. It is not different than me. And any questions you have, you just ask. And you can have my darshan every day. And that deity is still there in at Tirupati. And if you go in the door, not that many people understand this. But when you're going into the main gate, on the stone arched wall, to this day is the spade that Anantacharya used to dig his gardens and to make his pukurs, his ponds, for the pleasure of Krishna. And when we see that spade, it's just a piece of iron. Doesn't have any fine engravings or carvings. It's just have you seen it? It's just a piece of iron just hanging there. But for about 1,000 years, it has been honored and worshipped by millions upon millions of devotees because of what it represents. It represents that simple, humble, selfless spirit of seva, devotional service. And Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he taught us. He taught us that it is that spirit of seva that makes our heart fertile. And when the heart is fertile, when we water the seed of bhakti by chanting the holy names, our love for Krishna takes deep, deep roots and grows higher and higher and higher and produces the fruits of prema, of love for Krishna. That's the purpose of our life. I'm going to end with one analogy that Anantacharya gave to one devotee who came to him. This devotee asked him, what are the qualities of a true devotee? And he gave several examples, but one of them is very striking to our discussion today. He said, a true devotee is like a crane. Not the machinery cranes, but the bird crane. How many of you have seen cranes? The bird. Well, cranes, usually they're white, and they stand on one leg. Yes? And the nature of a crane is it will be in a stream of water, standing on one leg, looking down into the stream. And so many small fish are passing. Hundreds and hundreds of little fish are just flippering and flickering by. And the crane just watches. Watches. Lets all the little fish pass. But as soon as he sees a really big fish, he goes down with his beak and eats him. Now, Anantacharya was a vegetarian. This is not about eating fish. It's about a principle. The crane is not distracted, doesn't pay attention to the little fish. But when he sees a big one, he grabs it. Similarly, a devotee is saragrahi, is seeking the essence. There are so many little things that happen in our life. So many mundane things, so many superficial things. So many things that bother us. So many things that, I have to have this, I have to have this, I have to get that, I don't want this, and this person said this, and that person did that, and this person, why did this happen, and we can get so flustered about what happens in this world. We get so bent out of shape, as they say, over the events caused by providence, caused by the weather, caused by other people, caused by our own mind. But a devotee focus, he lets all the superficial things in life pass, and is always very eager to catch what's really important. The big fish. What will please Krishna? Despite all the stuff that's happening, I have the holy name, Param Vijayate Sri Krishna Sankirtanam. That's big. The prime benediction for humanity at large. I have the association of devotees. I have the chance to read the Srimad Bhagavatam. I have the chance to serve, to do seva. These are big things. And who said that, and who did that, and what did that, and everything in the material world except those things that inspire and nourish pure devotional service, they're all like the little fish flowing. And we get so caught up. It's not important. You see, if you're Krishna conscious, if we're taking shelter of the big things, of what really is favorable to Krishna consciousness, then that higher taste helps us to see everything in a perspective by which we could keep growing. A petty consciousness is we see a pebble to be an enormous mountain. Yes. The obstacles in this world are just little pebbles. They're all going to be washed away in time. But we see it as an enormous mountain because of the emptiness in ourselves. But when we're actually Krishna conscious, when we're actually seeking the essence, then we see the pebble for what it is. And we seek out the real mountain, Giriraj, Krishna. That's the Anantacharya said that's the lesson of a crane. We should keep focused, always looking for the opportunities to serve, to take shelter of the holy name, the big things. And all the other things that happen in this world, just let them pass. Deal with them in a way with detachment, but not to become obsessed with them. And this principle is especially essential when it comes to our relationships with each other. Thank you very much. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Yes. Radhanath Swami has donated his heart and soul. What's interesting about the story of Anantacharya Alvar, he was an Alvar. When he was digging the pukur, the pond, it was a big job. And his wife was pregnant. So she had to, you see these construction sites in India, the ladies have a small basket and they fill it up with rocks and things and they have to carry it. Well, while she was doing that, some young boy came, very beautiful young boy. And he saw Anantacharya's wife doing that. And so he went up to Anantacharya and said, "Sir, can I help you?" He said, "Who are you? Where did you come from?" You have to realize, this is 1,000 years ago. Tirupati, as Maharaj said, it was a jungle with wild animals. And there was a pujari who lived on the bottom of the hill. He would come only once every 2 weeks to perform puja for a few hours and go back down again. No one wanted to live there. So out of nowhere, this very attractive young boy comes and he asks Anantacharya if he can help. He said, "What are you going to do for me?" He said, "You're just some little kid." He said, "You go away." So then the boy, he went up to Anantacharya's wife and he said, "Mataji," he said, you're pregnant. Let me carry these rocks for you." And she said, "Okay, you're such a beautiful boy. Who are you anyway? So it doesn't matter." He said, "Let me help you." So he started carrying the rocks, and for some reason or other, Anantacharya got so angry, he took his iron spade and threw it at the boy. And he got hit, but he disappeared. And Anantacharya came running after him. He was so furious for some reason or other. And he got really angry because it looked like the boy went into the little temple of Balaji. It was just like a little shack. So he tried to go in, so he got really upset. Why did he go in there? And he couldn't get the door open easily. But finally, he gets the door open and he sees that there's blood. And then he looks up. He doesn't see the boy. He sees Balaji. And he's slightly bleeding right here. Then he realized that little boy was Balaji himself. And he was completely shocked, and he gave his obeisances, and he was overwhelmed that he could make such a mistake like that. In other words, he was a very exceptional person, like Madhavendra Puri. He had a personal relationship with the deity. The deity was not some stone. It's a real person. It's the Supreme Personality of Godhead. If you read the book that we wrote about the history of Balaji, he is considered Shirodakshaya Vishnu, who lives in an ocean of milk, in Svetadvip. It's a Vaikuntha planet in this world. So, this complete dedication to serving the order of the spiritual master, undergoing any hardship with a heart of joy. Because what is success? How do we calculate success in life? Is it how many dollars we have, how much power we have, how much sense gratification we have? Actually, as Maharaj said, Yasya Devi Parabhaktir, we have to have faith in Krishna and Guru, and Yasya Prasada, Bhagavat Prasada. It's only by mercy of the Guru that we can have the grace, or by the grace of the Guru one can receive the mercy of Krishna, and without pleasing the spiritual master one cannot make any spiritual advancement. So that's what we're dedicated to. So if you please your Guru who's serving Prabhupada, or I please Srila Prabhupada, we're both happy, because our goal is the same, to please Prabhupada and Krishna. And Prabhupada said the only problem is personal ambition. That personal ambition will destroy the cooperative devotional service. In other words, there is an escalator going up of seva. You offer to your Guru, he offers to his Guru, it goes right up to Krishna. And there's an escalator coming down of mercy from Krishna through the disciplic succession to your Guru, and then you receive. But if one link in that escalator is opaque, in other words, instead of passing it on, they put it in their pocket, that service, or that's mercy or whatever, you never get it, Krishna never gets it. So we have to be liberal. This is called Brahmana. Brahmana is liberal. In other words, he's not only interested in himself, he's just interested in the welfare of all. In fact, the Bhagavatam says that the absolute truth is the ability to discern between reality and illusion for the welfare of all. Not for my welfare, or only your welfare, or our family welfare, or our ethnic group welfare, but the welfare of all. So Brahmanas are liberal, and Kripanas, stingy people, are self-interested. Therefore, we should become real Brahmanas. Anantacharya is an example, Ramanujacharya, and all these great Alvar devotees in our Sampradaya, Haridas Thakur, Goswamis, and most recently Srila Prabhupada. They're all liberal. They don't say, oh, this one's a white man, this one's Indian, this one's a black man. I'll give the white man this and the black man that, but I'll keep the best for my own people. No. Prabhupada has the vision, Pandita Samadarshina. He sees everyone's a servant of Krishna. Some people know it, some people have forgotten. So let me do whatever I can to help everyone understand their true identity. Jivera Swarupahaya Nityara Krishna Das. So this desire to cooperate It cannot happen unless one is above the influence of the modes of material nature. And by hearing, as we just heard tonight, wonderful discussion of Vaishnava behavior. Prabhupada said we should all be like Jatayu, willing to die for Sita and Ram. Therefore, how do we die? We die materially to live spiritually. It's not Allahu Akbar, you cut your throat. It's you die materially to live spiritually. So when we give up the misguided purpose of life of sense gratification and pick up the real purpose of life of pleasing the senses of Krishna, then we begin to live. We're actually dead right now in the material world, walking around like mummies looking for sense gratification. But when we decide to please the senses of Krishna, Rishikena Rishikesha Sevanam Bhakti Uchyate, then we become alive and again very enthusiastic. Utsaha Nishtaya Darya. You become utsaha, full of enthusiasm. You don't get tired by serving all day long. In fact, you don't even want to sleep. You can't wake up and start service again. So, we want to thank Maharaj for coming and giving us a taste of that utsaha, that enthusiasm for Krishna Katha, for cooperation. See? Cooperation is the basis of happiness. In the material world, people cooperate. In the spiritual world, people cooperate. And in the material world, people are fighting all the time. Always seeing something wrong. Whereas in the spiritual world, people see Krishna, they don't see anything wrong because everyone's trying to please Krishna. Okay? So Prabhupada said, you say you're chanting your rounds, but you're not listening and cooperating. How is this possible? In other words, only those people who don't chant, who don't follow the regulative principles, they're the ones that don't cooperate. And they're the ones that always see something wrong. Just like the fly goes to the stool and the bee goes to the honey. So the fly mentality will always see something wrong. And the bee mentality will also always say how to make a solution to what's wrong, if there is something wrong. But they always see possibilities. So Anantacharya followed his guru's instruction. Look what happened. How many people go to Tirupati today to visit the deity? Millions. And it's built up in a wonderful way. But 1,000 years ago it was a jungle and a little shack. Look at the vision of these people. The same way Prabhupada went through such a big fight to get Juhu Beach. And he said that Bhuvaneshwar, which was a jungle when he first went there, would become a big temple. So he had vision. He could see what was coming in the future because he had faith in his Guru's words. Pritivite achayata nagaradikrama sarvatma prachar haibin muranama. So he said, Prabhupada said, there's Brahmins everywhere. Not just in India, not just in this family or that family. There's Brahmins everywhere in this world, but they have to be picked up. So he picked up people like Jayananda Prabhu and so many others. They were just loitering in the streets. And he said once, that ISKCON is like this. He said, one man was walking down the street and he found an old wire. And he kept walking and he found an old broomstick. And he kept walking and he found a dried up gourd. So he took it home, he connected the broomstick to the gourd, and he strung the string on it, and he began ding 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 Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. He said I started this movement by picking up these boys from the street and put them together, connected them to Krishna. And look at all the wonderful things that have happened. So, without this spirit of cooperation, without this spirit of no jiva himsana, no envy, no jealousy, simply being happy to see others advance, and if one can help in that way, then one has no problem in life. See? So thank you very much. I want to thank again Radhanath Swami. And please always come back and give your nice association. Hare Krishna.
Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Srimati Bhaktivedanta Swami Pranamine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Astajati Satvarine Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Krishna 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 Hari 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 Rama Hari Rama 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 Hari Hari Hare Krishna 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 Hari 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 Rama Hari Rama 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 Hari 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 Rama Hari Rama Hari Krishna Hari Krishna 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 Hari 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 Rama Hari Rama 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 Hari Hari Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Ram Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Prabhupada. Nitai Gora Hari Bo, Hari Bo, Hari Bo, Hari Bo. Nitai Gaura Premanandi. Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Prabhupada. Jai Jai Prabhupada, 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 Prabhupada. Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Prabhupada. Nitai Gaura Hari Bo, Hari Bo, Hari Bo, Hari Bo. Nitai Gaura Hari Bo, Hari Bo, Hari Bo, Hari Bo. Vanchakalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya eva cha Patithanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo. Thank you.